You are listening to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Mike Hare. Join me and Gypsy Jules every Monday night and Matt Hoffman and myself every Tuesday night. Listen in as we discuss a wide range of metal detecting and related topics such as technical, equipment, talk to guests, and so much more. Sit back, join in on the drinking game. For those new to the show, every time I say relic machine, you need to do a shot. These are the rules. I didn't make them up. We hope you enjoy this episode of All Metal Mode. Hey everybody, this is Mike, and you're listening to the All Metal Mode podcast. I'm pretty excited tonight. We've got Greg Lawson. He's a paranormal investigator, and he is also a detectorist. And of course, Gypsy Jules will be hosting with me, and yeah. So before we get on to that, I got something really exciting I got to share. I just got in today the new Nocta Macro Amphibio. That is going to Ohio with me to do some relic hunting, and I leave Friday. So I am really looking forward to that. That thing is cool. I unboxed it, put it together, played with it in the house because I got crazy kids today. But yeah, it'll get a good breaking in come this next weekend. Speaking of that, let me look up the date real quick. I didn't have this down. So I will be back the 12th. I'm not going to do the show the 12th. Probably not, because we're getting back so late. Or possibility of getting in late. I don't know. That Monday's just a little bit questionable right now. But I probably won't be doing the show the 13th either. Steph had to rearrange her schedule, and I don't think we want to try to do a show with the kids. Randy is crazy, very crazy. He's getting very loud and vocal, so I don't think we can do that show. We'll see how it goes. I just don't. I'm going to play it by ear for now and see how it goes. I might do the show on the 12th. I don't know. We'll see. We will just see how it goes. What else do I have? Predator Tools. If you want the highest quality and best tools on the market, visit PredatorTools.com. I will be using the new, I believe they're calling it the Shark. That new shovel is awesome looking. I've got the Piranha. I love the Piranha, but the difference is this shovel's got more blade to it. It's curved. It'll move dirt. You know, the Piranha really doesn't move dirt. The shape of it, it's more of a cutting tool. And, you know, when you're hunting fields, you need something that'll move dirt a little bit better. So I'm really looking forward to that. Check us out on Facebook. All Metal Mode is our page, our group. And, don't forget allmetalmode.com. So there you are. How you doing, Gypsy?
I'm doing wonderful. Great to be here tonight.
I believe you got out detecting today, correct?
I sure did. Went out to, actually it's a place where, one of the places where Greg, our guest tonight, Greg Lawson had told me about a while back, a little town about, I'd say about 30 minute drive from here, and there's an old creek that backs up to a jailhouse, an old jailhouse where Greg and I metal detected it there, and did a little creek hunting today, mostly modern coins, but it was still fun.
Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, I'm itching to get out. The last 2 times I could get out, we've had rain. So I can't wait till Randy can walk and I can take the kids with me. I need that bad.
I was just picturing you coming along with me. We can hunt in the river or the creek, and we can create a little floaty. He can float along.
He'll just sit there and splash and yell at us. That boy's getting so loud and crazy, and you got to watch him. He wants to put everything in his mouth, everything, especially if he's not supposed to. I don't know if I told you this, but sometimes I would definitely say I'm a hillbilly or redneck. I don't care what you want to call me, but I fall somewhere in there. But I'm always kind of proud of myself that I feel pretty confident I'm not white trash, and I'm a step above. I'm a good step above, but Randy has to get into everything, and I use snuff, chewing tobacco, and that boy has to always have a can and a spit cup, and with a lid on it, of course. And I let him. I've gotten to the point where it's like, just take it, man. Just quit screaming at me. And so he pretty much crawls around, or he'll walk along the couches with a spit cup and a can of snuff. So I'm concerned that's a little, maybe I'm dipping down into the white trash there a little bit, but is what it is. Keeps him happy. Keeps him happy. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
Good deal. Man, I'm excited to get into this and talk about it. I think, kind of talked before the show, I'd really like to get into the paranormal. I know that's where you're more knowledgeable at, but I would like to talk some metal detecting first. And I'd like for you to share your experiences and all that.
Well, I it was years ago, and I don't even know what year it was. I'm going to say it was in the 80s. I bought a white gold prospector or something. I can't remember what it was called. It was the blue one, and had the big box on it, and a big meter. And it seemed to work really well. I mean, I could find all kinds of stuff, but I wasn't really an enthusiast. I had it because I thought it was cool, and I thought it would be something that, one day I'm gonna need it to do something. And so I had it for years, and ended up in Alaska. I was stationed up there while I was in the military for a little while, and I got to use it at some of the old mines and stuff up in the Alaska Range Mountains. I never found anything cool. I found old nails, which were the big square nails, which I guess that's kind of interesting. But I didn't find the vein of gold that I was, looking for. Yeah, and I wasn't smart enough to really work the thing like a crime scene, and that's what I should have done. And so I have some experience up in Alaska with that whites, and then also when I was stationed in Washington State, I got to do some ghost towns there, and I did a lot of scuba diving in and around Bremerton, which is about an hour ferry ride from Seattle. And there's a big naval base up there, and in the 1800s and late 1800s, the naval base is actually positioned around the other side of Bremerton. If you look at the map of where the Navy yard is now, it was actually on the other side of the bridge in downtown Bremerton. And there was an anchorage there that big wooden, tall masted ships would moor up there. And one of the ships caught on fire and burnt right there at its moorings. And when they built the bridge that goes across, they obviously dredged out part of that. So all of the debris and everything from that from that ship catching on fire is down there on the bottom. It's just moved around because of the dredging stuff. So, when I was down there, I used another type of, I don't remember even what it was called, but it was an underwater metal detector that a friend of mine had. And, the problem is there's so much metal all over the place down there, just hitting on everything. But what we did find was some silver spoons that had the actual print of the ship's crest on the silver spoons. So I'm guessing that was probably part of the ship's china. Back then, the captain would have a set of china that specifically had the ship's logo and the crest on it. And and so we found a few of those, and then a bunch of broken up pottery and china and stuff like that. And we actually recovered that stuff and gave it to there's a maritime museum there in Bremerton, and we gave it all to them.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is really neat. Can you imagine what if you went out there with the dredge now? I wonder if there's anything left, or if it's...
I'm sure there is, because nobody really dives over there. I say that that was from 1994 when I was there. So maybe other people have done research and have scoured that area, but I don't know.
About how deep was that? Was it pretty deep?
It's around 45 to 60 feet, but you have a huge tide there also. So that tide, just depending on the tide table as far as, how deep you're going to be able to operate in there. But that was one of the reasons that they relocated the portage for the Navy from that position to where Puget Sound Naval Shipyard is now, or Bremerton, whatever they're calling it now. I think they've renamed it something. But they had to reposition it because the big steel warships draw so much more water. They sit so far more deep in the water that they had to, relocate out further.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's a fascinating place around there.
Yeah, I can imagine diving down there with a metal detector. There's probably just so much debris that it was hard to really hunt. Probably anything between modern and your old stuff from the ship as well.
Yeah, it was very distracting. It was easier just to kind of dig around in the mud.
Right. Is that how you found the spoons?
Yep. Well, it was 1994. I can't remember. I know we were using that metal detector. But I don't remember if that's what actually, when we found it or whether we were just digging. I know I was finding all the, we've talked about this before, using a metal detector. I'm very interested in old glass. So, you go and look and see where the trash piles, identify the trash pile and start digging around in there. And I'm not really looking for the metal. I'm looking for the glass. And if the glass had a metal cap on it or, tin cans or something thrown away with them, then I could, recover that.
Right.
So.
I love finding the old bottles and digging in the old dumps and stuff. And kind of just for our listeners, how I met Greg actually through my work where I instruct art, and we just hit it off, got to talking to him and his wife and talking about, and somehow metal detecting always comes up, in conversation. Somehow it always does. Anyway, and so Greg and I just hit it off real fast, and he told me, he works basically for the sheriff's department, and he does a lot of diving, and in the past he's helped locate bodies and help locate weapons and stuff like that. And I know recently I think his department bought a underwater metal detector for their dive team. but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what Greg does on a regular basis, and then I'll get him to tell you a little bit more about that. And then, along with that, he has written some books, and so I'll let him give that information in a moment. And I think you have a website. Is that right, Greg? A website?
I do. Yep.
And I'll let you tell us about that and your books and kind of a little bit about what you do. And I know you go all over and do talks and speeches and if you can, just tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Okay. So I am a supervisor for a lake patrol and an underwater recovery team. So I have guys that work boats and enforce laws and do rescues and that sort of thing. And then I have the underwater recovery team, which our primary job is to recover evidence or bodies. So we stay pretty active as far as that goes in the area that I'm in, and so I've been doing that for years, and I ended up doing that here where I work now. I was in a pararescue unit when I was in Alaska, and so I did a lot of cold water diving, ice diving, zero visibility diving up there, and that's primarily what I do for a job. And I've been a career cop and a detective and all that. And I've always been interested in the paranormal ever since I was a little kid. My brother used to my brother was 12 years older than me, and he'd throw me on his motorcycle when I was 5 and he was like 17. And we would drive around and go look at old graveyards. That was something that he really liked. And so, he would take me there. And that's kind of what I guess started my macabre things that I'm interested in, and so ever since then, whenever I get a chance, I usually try to go to the weird place, to the scary place, to the place that has the legend, lore, myth, or whatever it is. And I go there and I want to see it. I want to see how it relates to the lore or legend that I heard about, and I want to try to experience whatever it is that happened there. So, that's where I've gone with all this stuff, and it's led me. I mean, I've been to Egypt and Chad, Sudan, Northern Africa, the Middle East, all over the Persian Gulf. Central America, lots of places in Europe, and then, of course, all around the United States. And I just kind of gravitate toward the weird. And if it's possible, to actually do some sort of metal detecting wherever we are, a lot of times you can't. Like if you're going to Gettysburg, you can't just go out there and start, picking up, rifle shot and stuff out there.
I've got to get you in the habit of bringing your metal detector everywhere you travel, because you do a lot of traveling, Greg. And
I know
that's the one thing you never know, kind of when you bring it up in conversation, when people are like, yeah, go ahead, because I know you visit castles. You go all over, and you post things about with castles and stuff, and I'm always sitting there drooling like, oh man, I wish I could metal detect there.
I know. we were at Warwick Castle in Warwickshire, England, and that was a castle that was built by what would essentially be descendants of Vikings that actually took over that area, and it's an incredible place. And it is filled with stories of torture. I mean, a terrible thing, terrible things that happened there. And one of the spots, I was there 2 years ago with a group of other investigators from the United States, and we were having a like a symposium there. And that night, or one of the nights, we all split up, and somebody took the library, somebody took the music room, somebody took the torture chamber, somebody took the oubliette, which is like this little hole in the ground that they would just stuff people down in, lock them in there. And when the people would die, they would just let them pass the dead guy out and just keep you closed up in there until you died. It was absolutely horrifying. And so this one night, they assigned me over to the bear pit. And what they would do is they would take bears and they would throw them, or they put them down in this big pit. And all that's left of this now is a section of the wall that is squared off, and you go inside, and there's a big wooden platform over what was then the pit. You can look down between the cracks and see how deep it is in there and where the bears would be, right? Well, the fantastic part about, if you know metal detecting, or in this particular case, this one lady knew metal detecting, and she's an archaeologist and anthropologist, and she's looking at it, and she's like, there's a tunnel here. I'm like, what? There's a tunnel. They had a tunnel outside of this. This was not where they fought the bear, would throw people in the pit. There's a pit out in the yard that's now covered with dirt. And so she was, out there stepping it off and trying to figure out, how big this thing is. Anyway, it was fascinating. And it's one of those other things that as a paranormal explorer, there's all these tools that you can use, and you don't find paranormal investigators toting around metal detectors. You just don't. And it's amazing that they don't. I do. But it's, anyway, so that's kind of what I do.
For our listeners, Greg has to take a short break. And so me and Gypsy, we're going to be like entertainment. We're going to make some jokes. You got any good jokes lined up, Gypsy?
Of course.
We're going to tell jokes and stuff until Greg can get back with us.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
All right.
No rush.
Thanks, Greg.
We got this, I think.
Oh, man, jokes. I'm not good at jokes.
While we're on a quick break, I want to say, if you have, especially if you have a paranormal experience related to metal detecting, if you want to tell your story, we can call you in. You can't call the show because of Skype, but I can call you in. You can text me at 937-414-4578. And what I can do is I can pull you into the show at some point tonight, and you can tell your story. We would love to hear it. Love to hear it. You got any good paranormal stories?
Me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or the ghost on the line.
Yeah, right.
The other ghost. Not really. Someone had mentioned in the chat a while ago, I have to look back, but they were saying they were out metal detecting, and they started smelling cigarette smoke. And when they were out metal detecting and no one was around, and I was saying that a while back, I was out detecting, and it smelled like more of a pipe, and there was no one around. I mean, it just seemed to be following me, the smell.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've never really I've had paranormal experiences, plenty of those. But something that I'll tell you about when Greg gets back is he had went to a place called Haunted Hill House, and he told me about it, and he got to metal detect around this haunted hill house, and he'll tell you about what he found there, etc. And then I got to go and after him, and I experienced some stuff while I was there as well, and really interesting. But some really interesting stuff that happened and that I saw, and he had some interesting experiences there as well. So I know that he has so many stories because he travels all over for the paranormal part, but he's also becoming so well known because of his books and stuff that he gets to someone was asking about, does he travel for work or for it was Mark was asking if he travels for work or for just personal reasons or whatever, but
I think Greg forgot to put his phone on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm here.
Oh, he's
I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you already through?
Yep.
Fast. Okay,
I know.
Awesome. You're
I'm super efficient.
Awesome.
He had to go remove a ghost from a house real quick.
That's close.
Close.
But I was just telling them a little, Greg, something we can talk about that I was telling them a little bit about Haunted Hill House recently that you had went there and you were able to get to do a little metal detecting around.
Hey, real quick first, you started to say it, Gypsy, and you didn't finish. Do you travel for fun or work or what? Somebody in chat had asked.
Yeah, all of the above. So a lot of all the Middle East stuff that I did was all military. So I've been to in Egypt and Israel and Sinai Desert and Oman, Yemen, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, and all around there in that area. That was all military stuff.
Okay.
But something that I would do when I was in the military is when I had time off, I would, of course, traditionally you go get drunk, right? But I didn't always do that. Yeah. So I would kind of change clothes and try to get lost off in the indigenous population and kind of go around and when I was in the military, we didn't have the internet. So when you went someplace, it was very hard to find information.
Right.
You would actually have to go to a library, go to local antique stores, go to places that people would know history. And of course, the Encyclopedia Britannica, of course, would tell you really cool, historical accounts of things. And then I would try to go and explore those things. So that was part of it. Now I more often get paid to go. Well, if I'm going overseas, it's typically a paid gig that I go over there and I go to some sort of conference, speak at the conference, maybe do workshops and that sort of thing. So, and the thing about it is that they bill me as the paranormal detective. You can find me at www.theparanormaldetective.com. And I didn't make up that moniker there. I didn't say I am the paranormal detective. I didn't say that. Just a few radio shows started calling me the paranormal detective because I was an actual detective at the time. I used to work homicide. I worked child abuse, sex crimes, and persons crimes. And so at that time, just happened to be the time that I was writing about zombies and was invited. Yeah, I wrote this book called Zombie Advocacy, which you can imagine nobody bought because nobody wants to advocate for them. They all want to shoot them in the head, right? So yeah, I write this book and I sell like 2,500 copies, and the publisher's like, yeah, you suck. We're not doing this anymore because nobody wants to buy your zombie advocacy book. And so I just kind of sat there for about 2 years, and I get an email from a group out of New Orleans, and it says, "Are you the zombie guy?" You know, and of course the answer to that, anytime anybody asks you that, you are the zombie guy, you of course say yes, because that's just the right thing to do. And so I said yes. They're like, well, do you ever do talks about zombies? And I said, oh, of course I do. Typically to my cats or my dog or my wife, if she'll actually stand there long enough and listen. But they said, would you come to New Orleans and do a talk about zombies? And I was thrilled, you know. And so I went, and I had to disqualify myself as soon as I got there because they were like real voodoo practitioners there.
Oh,
and they were expecting me to come. I was like, wait a second.
Oh,
we're talking about contemporary zombies and movies and stuff like that. And they were all cool with it. They all started laughing. Oh, we thought you were going to do that. I'm like, no. So we had a good time hanging out with the voodoo people. But yeah, it was that. And in that, I started getting calls to come talk about zombies. And when I was there, I saw all these other people doing this ghost hunting stuff, which I've been doing since I was 5. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You can't do that. You can't, that's not an industry standard way to investigate something. So I decided to go ahead and write a book about industry standard, investigative practices, but lean it toward, paranormal, metaphysical, spiritual type exploration. So that's what I tried to do. And the book's done really well. I did 22 events this year, which was way too many to do in 1 year. Wow. But I got to go all over the place. We went everywhere. So it's been fun.
That is so cool.
That's neat.
Hey, I've got
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Real quick, so I can get this out of the way. Bill from, I'm not even going to say, can you ask Greg if he knows anything about the missing 411 or 4? I don't know what he's saying for sure. Do you know what he's talking about?
He might be talking about, a military group in Texas. I'm not sure. If he can clarify that. That's the only one I can think of, but I don't know the number. The missing 411. I think it's a military unit, though. Yeah. It's something way back in the cockles of my mind, and I can't pull it out. And I could be completely wrong about what he's talking about here, too. But
okay, hopefully he'll let us know, because I am not sure. Excuse me. I'm on your website right now. Somebody already posted the link, and I want to get that out there. It is very interesting. I mean, of course, I haven't dove into it, but www.authorgreglawson.com. Check
you get there
out,
with
guys.
Author Greg Lawson or theparanormaldetective.com.
Yeah.
Either one.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. I bookmarked it, and I will come back and spend some time on it.
Talking about metal detecting, I know we're kind of jumping around, or I'm jumping around here a little bit from paranormal to metal detecting and then back to criminal stuff. Everybody in Central Texas is familiar with the yogurt shop murders. And a few years ago, there was some other evidence that came up, and a couple of dive teams ended up going to the Pennybacker Bridge and metal detecting and searching under the Pennybacker Bridge. Now, the Pennybacker Bridge, if I remember correctly, didn't actually span Lake Austin until 1989, maybe, or something like that. Maybe I can't remember what year it was, but the crazy part about it is during their investigation there, they found over 30 knives. They found, I want to say, 17 handguns.
Oh, gee.
They found a safe, a motorcycle, and some other stuff. And that's just in a pretty, 25-year period. So I know Gypsy and I have actually done this and metal detected under, old bridges. Because if you think about it, it's kind of like looking for Indian campsites. You look around, you go, wow, how do you find an Indian campsite? Well, you look around and see where a good campsite would be. It's pretty simple. What's protected, what has, some sort of vantage point that you can see far, and where's a good source of water. And you look around, you go, oh, yeah, if I was going to camp, I would camp here. And a lot of times just looking at it that way, can clarify things for you as far as thinking goes. And so it's the same way in when I think if you're looking for things of evidentiary value, or just a hobbyist looking for some place where somebody is going to dispose of something, naturally, old farmhouse, well, their trash dump is going to be within walking distance of that farmhouse. They didn't go too far. And a lot of times those trash dumps were in their own water source. If a creek was going through, they would, for whatever reason, their refuse would go into the creek. So there's all these different ways of looking at that sort of thing. And bridges are something I think that is special because it's it's very segregated. It's a small area, and it's a high concentration of things, people throwing stuff off. That one bridge that you and I did, Gypsy, we found that axe head there, right?
We sure did. I forgot the axe head, yeah.
And so as a paranormal explorer or a paranormal researcher, I find an axe head under a bridge. Why is that axe head under a bridge? Because the reason I say that, it was an old one, remember? I mean, it was solid iron. It was, and I'm looking at it, and back then, even now, if you have a good axe head and your handle is rotted, well, you just replace the handle on it. You don't throw that metal away. And in the 1800s, you didn't take a big chunk of steel and just toss it into to the lake or into the river. So that axe head, in my opinion, this is complete, I'm using inductive reasoning here. I'm making it up, but it would make sense to me. That axe head was there because somebody put it there, not because somebody lost it. Mm-hmm. And so you wonder why they put it there, to get rid of a possible, weapon that was killed in a crime and probably a murder. It was one of the most popular ways to kill people in the 1800s was with an axe, because everybody had them. They were nice and heavy, and they were stuck in the wood pile right behind your back door. And you grabbed the axe, and you went, so there was a lot of axe murders back then.
Hey, Greg, real quick, I'm sorry. We've got some questions and some stuff I want to bring up. We're kind of getting ahead here. Bill, what he was talking about, the 411 was missing hikers and hunters from national parks.
Oh, no, nothing about that.
Okay. He was wondering if you thought it was paranormal or not.
Well, it's funny because I did a talk in Kent, Ohio, about missing people and the relations with paranormal. So it's interesting that he would bring that up. I know nothing about the national parks. What I do know about is the Uniform Crime Report, and that's basically the clearinghouse for all crime that the FBI runs. So every year, reporting agencies, a reporting agency is an agency that's responsible to, a 911 call center. So this would be police agencies that respond to 911. It wouldn't be constables' offices and that sort of thing. And so all of the arrests, all of the reports, everything has to be reported to this clearinghouse. And the crazy part about it is you hear all these missing people. Well, about 98% of all missing people, those cases are resolved in the first year. It starts dwindling down very rapidly from there. And I would love to read some stuff about the 411, what he's talking about, because, like I said, I've done talks on this. There was a girl up at Kent, Ohio, at the university that disappeared in a very suspicious way, and I kind of related that with a paranormal possibilities, I guess.
Wow.
Okay, next question. I'm sorry. These guys are overwhelming me here.
No, that's great. That's cool.
What's the scariest thing that you've personally investigated, and what made it so scary?
People.
People, right?
Yeah, freaking people, man. Yeah, they're scary.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't.
Yeah, man. There's some things that I've seen people do and say, and it's just absolutely amazing what human beings do to each other. But on the metaphysical side, on the paranormal side, we went to Transylvania a few years ago and went to Ponary Castle, which is actually the real Vlad the Impaler, Dracula's real castle. Mm-hmm. Bron Castle, that is touted as Dracula's castle, is Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler, never went to that castle. He didn't own Bron Castle. Bron Castle is basically just a big museum now. It's very interesting, but there's not much to it. Now, Ponary Castle is ruins on top of this big mountain. And it was said that Vlad was in battle, and they said that he was killed, and that the armies were going to move on to the Ponary Castle. Well, when his wife found this out, she committed suicide by jumping from the wall. Well, he wasn't dead. He wasn't injured at all. It was all psychological warfare on the enemy's part. And you can imagine he was already pretty damn angry at this point. And to have his wife commit suicide over a lie, it only got worse for everybody from there. So we talk about fear. I didn't really feel fear there. I felt something very powerful, but it wasn't this terror thing, right? The odd thing is probably the most scared I've been was at Hill House, Haunted Hill House in Mineral Wells, Texas.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know, and anybody can go up there, and you can you can rent the house. It's kind of like a bed and breakfast almost. It's not, but you can rent the house for the night. You can stay there and do your investigation or whatever. But I went up there and investigated, and part of my deal is if you ask me to come in and investigate your property or your location or whatever, there's a couple of stipulations, and one of them is when I'm there, you can't be there. You got to leave the place. I get the place for 24 hours by myself, no distractions. And some people won't agree with that, and that's fine, but that's just the way I work. And I've done this, a lot. And I have never been that really weirded out anywhere else other than Hill House. And there's just a couple of things that happened that a lot of people look for ghosts, right?
Right.
The people that do what I do, or actually I'm more of along the research side of it, but the ghost hunters, they'll use their equipment, they'll use EMF detectors, they'll use, whatever the little machine is that somebody has bought, and they're going around and doing this detecting. Well, those machines do certain things, like an EMF reader, an electromagnetic frequency reader. It's going to detect electromagnetic frequency. Well, ballast in a fluorescent light will give off EMF. Computers, older TVs, your cell phone, that sort of thing. So you have all this noise that's bouncing around, and you're not really sure what you're measuring. So the tools that I use are things that I know and I understand, because I'm kind of a scientific materialist, yet I believe there's something else going on. Okay, so I just, I say I'm a scientific materialist, and then I think something else might be going on too. But I use things like, I use audio recorders, I use video recorders because I understand them. I use FLIR because I understand thermal imaging. I will use an EMF detector just to eliminate electrical wires in a wall, or a ballast in a light or something like that. So I know, well, that's not a ghost. That's something else. And I'll use metal detecting. And I did that when I was at Hill House also. And the afternoon, I got to Hill House in the afternoon and kind of did a walkthrough with the new owner, who had invited me to come out and investigate. And so once she left, I then shut the power off in the house. And I let the house kind of cook on itself a little bit. And I went outside and I metal detected the backyard. And in metal detecting the backyard, I found a woman's hoop earring, a little woman's bracelet, and a really cool old knife. And I showed you pictures of that, didn't I, Gypsy?
Yeah. She actually had all those objects when I visited, and she showed me what you found.
Okay. Good.
So,
good.
Yeah.
The knife, did they clean up the knife?
The knife was super clean, because you told me it's pretty rusty when you found it, but
yeah, I was hoping he wouldn't clean it up, but it's a nice knife, right?
Yeah.
So
tell them about where you found. Well, I'll let you tell the story. Sorry.
Well, no, I was looking at the house. The house used to have a back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It had maybe a small barn that they did slaughter, and they hung meat, and they had a smokehouse and stuff like that. And so that's where I was over there detecting. So I thought I would, come up with something. And I found this not so old jewelry, and I found that pretty odd that it would be there, and it was just weird. And then not too far from that, I found the knife. And the speculation is there was a girl that was abducted and killed there about 11 or 12 years ago.
Oh.
Not from Hill House, but from Mineral Wells. But she had people that she associated with were connected to Hill House. And so the theory was that she was possibly at Hill House the night she was killed.
Oh.
And so they were kind of exploring that angle of it. Because the woman's jewelry that I found was not old. It was, maybe 80s, 90s, something like that, or later. And so, yeah, I detected all around there, and I did a real cursory search. I just kind of went pretty fast, and I didn't do anything really methodical back there, just because it was actually really hot that day. So I was sweating all over myself. But then I kind of moved into the house and started kind of getting a feel of the house, because whether you're spiritual, or whether you're believe in the paranormal, whether you're religious or whether you're an atheist, I think everyone will agree on this. Places and things have a feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up an object and it might seem important somehow. You don't know why you think it is, but you just get this feel that it's important. Or you go into a house and it's got a homey feeling or an oppressive feeling or something like that, right? So I kind of went in the house and walked around and decided how I was going to set my cameras and things up. And I set all that up, set up my audio, and it got dark. And so I set up in the kitchen. In the kitchen, they have actually a big screen TV that feeds into cameras that are in every room in the house. So you can sit in the kitchen and watch what's going on in the other rooms. So you can set up experiments like, I don't know, put a kid's toy in the kid's room, that has wheels on it or something, see if it'll move or just whatever little experiment you want to do. But I had shut all the power off, right? So I was just using my cameras, and that way I can control what I'm getting. I'm not going to get all the rest of this noise, and I'm not going to get, if anyone was trying, and I'm not suggesting this at all, but things I have to do when I go do an investigation is make sure that nobody's tricking me. Because believe it or not, I know this might sound weird, but believe it or not, there are hoaxes known to be in the paranormal world.
Right.
I don't know if y'all know that or not, but people try to trick you sometimes. So, I make sure I try to insulate myself as best I could with that. Also, with I did 10 years in the military, and I have what they call Armed Forces Attention Deficit Disorder. I did 4 years Army, 4 years Navy, and 2 years Air Force, just because I didn't have anything better to do, and I like traveling. So I didn't think I'd live this long. It's been a real disappointment. But yeah. So I know how to secure a house. I know how to close doors, and when I close doors, when I'm doing an investigation like this, I look and see the penetration, of the lock in the door. I'm not just, swinging the door shut and it kind of bangs shut. I close it. I feel the knob. I pull on it. I make sure that it's not just going to pop open, right? During that night, twice, I walked out of the kitchen. Every hour I would walk out of the kitchen and I would go to the little parlor. I would go to what's called the Shadow Man room. Then I would go back into the kids' room. I would go into the axe room, and then I would go upstairs and do the attic and the little room up there. The little boy that is actually confirmed, the little 6-year-old boy died up there. And he was for those of you who don't know about Hill House in Mineral Wells, it was a brothel and a place to get liquor during Prohibition for the Baker Hotel. So all these rich people would go to the Baker Hotel, and if they wanted to get action, well, they would go over to Hill House, and they could get liquor and they could get entertainment in the form of ladies of the night there. Yeah. So I would go through each one of these rooms, and I would switch out my GoPro camera. I would pull my audio, and then I would go into the kitchen and download it onto my laptop. And it would take me, 30, 45 minutes to do that. And then I would do it again, right? Twice. I walk out of the kitchen. I turn to my right. The downstairs bathroom door is wide open. And I get this adrenaline dump. And so for the person who's asked me when I was scared, I apologize for taking 15 minutes to get to that point. But, man, you talking about a good adrenaline dump and losing IQ points right there, man, because, when you get really stressed out and get scared, you lose about 30 IQ points. So I'm working at about a 70 IQ at this point. And I'm like, oh, I couldn't believe it, And so I measure it. I get my phone out. I scan it. I'm looking at it. I'm like, there's no way this door opened, right? There's no way. I had to have left it open, but there's no way I would have left it open because I know this is what I do. And so I close it up, and because I lost those 30 IQ points because of my stress, right? I didn't set up my GoPro camera on it.
Oh.
A normal person, wouldn't you do that? If you found a door open, you'd go, okay, something happened here. Let's make sure we have a camera on it. I didn't do it because I lost my intelligence and I wanted to stick to my method because I believe that sticking to your method is more important than finding the ghost.
Yeah.
And I say that because you need to be consistent about what you're doing so you can go back in and see if you can replicate it. If you just run around in the house with an EMF detector screaming, is there anybody here who wants to talk to us? Yeah, that's not really, you can do that. Don't get me wrong. That's fine. I'm not talking bad about anybody. I'm just saying that that's not a real, supportive way to go into. I think about going into the grand jury and going, I need to get an indictment on this ghost. This is what happened, and I need to make sure that my investigation is solid, not just running around scaring each other.
Right.
So I stuck to my method because I knew this particular thing, switch out the audio, move the camera, do this. So I stuck with my thing. It was stupid. I go do my downloads and everything. I walk back out and the door is wide open.
Oh, man.
And it scared the crap out of me. Yeah. Because there's no way a human being snuck into this house to open this door. There's no way that they had an electronic lock or a pneumatic lock or a spring or a trap or something like that opened that door up. I do not know what opened that door up. And as a paranormal investigator, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the thing that I can't explain. Not the thing like, that's a demon. A demon did that. Well, he's a pretty incompetent demon if all he's doing is opening doors. Broke grandma's plate. I got a demon in the house. You just don't know. But anyway, so that was probably a real letdown for whoever asked that question. But
that's spooky when stuff happens. I mean, so many times things don't happen, do they?
Oh, most of the time they don't. No.
Right.
Most of the time it is absolutely 8 hours of pure boredom. Mm-hmm. And of course, and there will be people that will say, well, Greg, you're just not open to the experience. Yeah, shut up. I'm open to the experience. I just know how to interpret things a little bit different, than what you're interpreting it as. So when I was stationed in the Sinai Desert with I was doing some cross training and stuff at the what's called the Multinational Force and Observers, and it's a UN project that's in the Sinai Desert, and we're hiking all around the Sinai Desert, and there's all kinds of caves, and you do your movement at night. You don't walk around the Sinai Desert during the day because it's way too hot. And so you're doing your movement at night, and you find all kinds of caves and stuff, and you go in there, and I've been afraid in some of those situations like that, but not the way. I didn't get the adrenaline dump that I got in Hill House. I did. Also got. Did she tell you, Gypsy? Did she tell you about the little boy that throws rocks?
No, I hadn't told any of that yet.
Okay. So there, the little boy, he was 6 years old when he died. He was a child of one of the prostitutes that was there, and he had Down syndrome, and they got documents on that. So supposedly he's a little mischievous guy, and he likes throwing things. And when I'd gone upstairs and I checked upstairs. It's a long story, and I won't bore you with it, but I go back. I'm starting to go back downstairs, and I get hit in the neck with a rock. And it hits me in the neck, and then it drops to the stairs and bounces twice.
Wow.
And I froze right there. It didn't hit me hard enough where it hurt, but, it was a good toss, right?
Did it creep you out?
Oh, yeah. And I spent the next hour up there trying to figure out whether they had a hidden pygmy in the walls, with a little blow dart, sticking me with a blow gun or something. And then I got lights and everything. I tried to find the rock on the stairs. Couldn't find it.
Wow.
So that's one of those things where, and I spent a lot of time out. Finally, it was like, 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get breakfast. Screw this place. I got to get out of here.
Well,
yeah.
Didn't you bring your dog with you?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your dog,
he is.
Yeah,
he's had PTSD ever since then. He has nightmares now, and he never had.
Oh.
He sleeps right beside the bed, and not sometimes he sleeps beside the bed, but he sleeps right outside of our room, and then he's got his own little chair. And now I hear him, whimpering and running, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, all right, man," And he never did that before. He immediately did that right after Hill House. Lynn's all mad at me because he gave my dog PTSD. He'll be okay. I need another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, I'm going to put you on mute this time.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll be right back.
Oh, good times.
The Hill House that he's talking about, I ended up going to later. He called me and told me about that and got me in contact with the owner, and the owner wanted me to come out and metal detect. And so I went out there, and it's about a 2.5, almost 3 hour, well, it's closer to probably 3 hour drive from where I live. So I drove out there, and when I got there, they gave me a full tour of the house and everything. And the hotel he's talking about, you can see catty corner, not far, down the hill. That's why they, of course, call it Hill House. As down the hill, and it's this huge motel. If anybody gets a chance, get online and check it out tonight. And it's very spooky looking because it's empty right now. And I found out that my grandmother's sister worked there as a maid.
Wow.
That went years ago. So I thought that was interesting. And anyway, the Hill House up. So they gave me a tour, and I went upstairs where where that happened to him, where he was coming downstairs with the little rock hitting his neck.
Yeah.
Well, I was upstairs with the owner of the property, and we were talking and stuff, and she was telling me about the little boy and that had died there, and tell me all the history on the house and stuff. And we're up there, and all of a sudden these little rocks or pebbles start coming from behind the fireplace there, and it sounds like they're hitting towards us, like they're being thrown at us.
Oh, that's
weird. And she's like, Did you hear that? And we're like, yeah, I heard that. And so we're like listening, and it happens again a few times. And then she had told me after that what happened to Greg with going down the stairs. But anyway, in the kitchen that he was talking about, where he had set up and then he had walked out of the kitchen, and then over to the right is the door, I guess, to the bathroom that he was talking about, where the door would open. But anyway, they had this huge TV monitor set up with all of these cameras all over the house, and you can see what's going on in different rooms. Well, we're sitting there talking and chatting, and the next thing you know, we see an orb in one of the rooms, and kind of meandering around. It was pretty creepy, but there's a lot of investigations that go on there, a lot of history. Anyway, and the more recent murders that happened there in Mineral Wells. And what was interesting about the earring, one of the earring that Greg found, out back. So she showed me the earring, and she pulled up a photo of one of the missing girl.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. I got chills when she showed me. She says, "Does this not look like the same earring?" I'm like, "Yep."
Oh,
and supposedly, there's more to the story. I'm not going to go into it on here because it's still an investigative story.
Really?
The murder has not been solved yet. And come to find out now, this is what the owner told me. You'd have to confirm with her and him, but this was really creepy. The knife that Greg found out there supposedly belonged to the girl that was murdered's grandfather.
The house was?
No, the knife that Greg found when he was out there metal detecting.
Oh, the knife. I thought you said the night. Okay.
Oh, the knife that he found supposedly belonged. Now, this is what the owner had told me, that they had found out that the knife, I don't even know if Greg knows this, supposedly belonged to the girl that was murdered. So I don't know. Creepy stuff.
That is creepy.
Yeah.
So is the grandfather a suspect?
No, I think he's deceased. I think he's deceased. I think it was like a gift to so I'm wondering if she possibly had it with her the night she was murdered. I have no clue. That's just my assumption. I'm just throwing that out there. Like I said, some of it I can't really. It is still under investigation. But I thought it was really creepy when she showed me that photo of the girl that's missing.
Poor girl. Do they have a motive or anything, or?
I would almost say y'all should get online. A lot of it, when I toured the house, she told me so much information at once.
Yeah.
That, and she was wanting to tell me more about the murders, the more recent murders and stuff, and that sort of thing. Kind of because she wanted me to metal detect out back too, which we did go metal detect a little and didn't find much. The most interesting thing that kind of confirmed though about the house being, like the lady of the night type thing.
Yeah.
They're behind the house. I found the Three Merry Widows pin top.
I'm back.
So that, yeah. Okay. Hey, Greg.
That is interesting.
I had to jump in on the Three Merry Widows there.
Right.
Oh, did you? I think I told you about that, Greg.
Yeah, you did.
I had found there. So I'm supposed to go back. Catherine and her husband are the owners of the Hill House now, and she had called me last week and wanted me to come back out for Saturday night, but I ended up having to work Saturday night. So we're going to plan another time where I can go back out and do some more metal detecting. But one neat thing I did find on the hill behind the house, which Greg will know about that, there's some legends of one of the... Do you remember who that was that they were talking about? I can't even remember right now, Greg. One of the outlaws.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to find out.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, she was telling me a story about one of the outlaws, and one of the areas is there's supposedly up on the hill maybe some caves, and so there could be some hidden treasure or something. There's always legends and stuff.
Right.
But anyway, we were metal detecting up kind of on the mountain there, but it's littered with cactus. Cactus are everywhere, so it was hard to maneuver up in there. But I did find an arrowhead while I was coming back down with my metal detector parted down the hill, and I gave it to the owners. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Man, I haven't found an arrowhead in 30 years, I don't think.
Oh, wow.
I've found all kinds of stuff. I found, hide scrapers and mortar and pestles and, that sort of thing. But I haven't found an arrowhead in a long time.
Greg, when you get a chance, pretty soon, this has been about a month or maybe about a month ago. My oldest son was out hiking over here in my neighborhood, and he said, "Hey, Mom, I want you to come check out this area where the water washes down." And he said, "I saw a lot of flint over there." So I said, "Let's go over there." And I found an arrowhead over there.
You there, Gypsy?
I think we just lost her.
I think we did. I'm not sure what's going on. It sure appears. Well, Gypsy, are you there? Let me see if I can get her back on.
I know that Georgetown, and I haven't had any luck. I found broken pieces of pottery.
Where's that at?
Around Georgetown, like San Gabriel Park, along San Gabriel River. Yeah.
I live right next to a creek that I have not walked down, but this winter I'm going to. I'm crazy, not a fan of snakes, and here in Texas, you got them all. I mean, they're all here.
Yeah. I saw a snake today when I was out hunting, but it was a baby. It's a poisonous one.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Copperhead.
I got it on. I got it on film, so it'll be coming up in one of my videos. Yeah, little baby copperhead.
Oh God.
But, yeah, Mark said the ghost cut me off. I think didn't want me talking about.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, creepy. I got a few more questions. Has there ever been anything that was too weird for you to investigate?
No.
He's like, I'll do it.
The weirder the better. And the thing about it is, it's like I had a buddy of mine talk to me the other day, and he goes, "So, I mean, you're just gonna do this, and what if something happens?" I'm like, "Well, I'll be the guy that it happened to. It'll be awesome." It's like, "Well, what if you get abducted?" "Well, I'll be the guy that got abducted then. That's even freaking better." Okay.
Right.
So,
that's funny.
and I'm not, I'm saying playfully, but I have people quite often ask me, do you do any protection spells, or do you pray before you go in, or do you? No, I don't. I'm just very respectful of people's property and of the history of what happened there, or the legend of what they said happened there. And I'm not gonna, I'm not going to disturb that.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be.
Hey.
So, no, the weirder the better.
Greg, I was sometime when you have a moment, I would like to have a one-on-one conversation with you, if at all possible. I've got a couple questions and a couple things I'd like to share with you and get your thought on.
Okay.
If that's at all possible.
I don't go to Cleburne. So.
Okay, understood. Well, luckily, nothing going on here at all. So that's a good thing. Yeah, there's kind of a funny inside story to that. But are there another question we had? Are there similarities within at paranormal? I mean, do you find similarities at paranormal sites? Are places where you feel paranormal, or you know what I mean, activity? I don't know that I'm asking that correctly. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Do you mean like? I think I know what you mean. No, I like a pattern kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a pattern of behavior, a pattern of experience, whatever.
Right.
No,
right.
And the interesting thing is people. You can have multiple people there, and they will all have a different experience. So, one begs the question of, well, is that just because, a psychologist would tell you, well, everybody has their own unique experiences that formulate the foundation of the way that they think and the way that their emotions, manifest themselves. So everybody would naturally have a different experience standing on the edge of a cliff. And, you'd have a different experience if you're standing on the edge of a cliff and the wind was blowing. So it seems to me that in most paranormal situations, one person might see orbs, another person might feel a very powerful presence, another person might see visions of light or halos or whatever it might be. And there seems to be different things. You hear the people like, well, I'm not sure what it was. Was it a full body apparition where you can actually see them standing, they're in clothes and you can see their belt buckle and their pistol and they're looking across the prairie or whatever they're doing. Is it that, or is it just a foggy outline or shape of a human? Is it like psychic impression? Is it something that happened there that's like a movie that's playing itself over and over again? And you see it because of the amount of energy that's there? Is it a time slip? Are you actually seeing people that were there 200 years ago and that's what they're doing because you can see through this, skein of material or whatever, you can see into it, so, and I can go on. Is it a jinn? Is it, something from the Islamic faith? Because they don't necessarily go off of just, devils and angels. Well, right. Islam, they go into the jinn and the genies, and genies don't necessarily like human beings, and they're tricksters, and they try to, make you go insane and think other people are messing with you or whatever. So,
do you think some people are more open to feel things, experience their surroundings, or open to? Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, are some people more open or more more likely?
Certainly, they are.
Yeah, I believe that.
Absolutely.
I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and I've wondered that. And I'm a pretty normal, pretty rational person, and there on many occasions things have happened in my life that I just can't explain. I'm not even saying they're paranormal, but definitely odd.
Right.
Definitely odd. And I have one that that really, well, a couple, but one of my first experiences, I was young, and what I witnessed, I thought was a living person until, and I would share here. I think I've got some pretty good stories, but everybody's heard them.
Right.
Everybody's heard them, because we've done this. We done this last year, and then some of my stories I was telling you, I have a find that, when I found it, I'll make it a real short story. When I pulled it out of the ground, it was like I was hit with electricity, and in a split second, there was a scene in my head, and that really rattled me, and that was very interesting. So yeah, I think some people are more open to it, maybe, or maybe we were a little more sensitive to stuff. I mean, I don't know about you, But do you ever just, you're going about your day just perfectly fine and, not a thought in the world or whatever, and all of a sudden you just get a creepy feeling or something. Somebody's watching me or, I don't know. That happens to me. Not often, but sometimes, that things like that have happened to me.
Yeah. No, certainly there are people that, you could say they're more sensitive to their surroundings. I mean, people I work with, other cops I work with, you have to listen to your gut instinct or your woman's intuition. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that's there, whether it's purely psychological and a physiological response due to fight or flight and, just survival, mm-hmm. or it's a gift of something else that is telling you, hey, beware, mm-hmm. be nervous. You need to pay attention to what's going on. Keep your head on the swivel, that mm-hmm. kind of thing.
Right.
And then there's people that are completely oblivious to everything around them.
Right.
Slack jawed and just kind of walk around like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'll tell you a quick, this is a quick one, even though everybody's heard it, it's real quick. Several years back, I was out in a farm field hunting with a friend where a house site had once been. And, I'm sure you get this. You get metal detecting and you get in your groove and you kind of shut everything off around you. And I was in my zone, my head down, watching my screen, listening, and out of nowhere, just the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I stopped and I look up, and my friend is many yards away from me. I can't even, I'd be lying if maybe 50 yards, something like it. Could have been 100 yards. It could have been 30 yards. It was at least probably 50. And I look over at him, and at that moment, a little dust devil popped up behind him. Probably, it was a good distance away from him, and it headed northeast, and then it kind of went south, and then it's just kind of meandering along, and all of a sudden, it stayed on course and went right through him, and then it dissipated. And, that could be nothing. But I'm telling you, I was in my zone and something just, I got the chills, and just happened to look up enough to see that pop up and go through him and then just dissipate. And I thought, wow, that was weird. That was weird.
So I talked earlier about Ponary Castle. Mm-hmm. And we were all up there. There was about 20 of us up there, I guess. And it's 1,480 steps to get to it.
Ah, yikes.
It's a little bit of a stair climb.
I'll metal detect below. Just leave me down below and I'll metal detect.
Yeah. We walk all over this place, go around it. It's just an incredible place to be. And we're all kind of sitting there. We're all kind of having the same experience. Wow. I'm this person from a small town and I'm in Transylvania. How crazy is that? Mm-hmm. People talk about, going, I want to go see, I don't know, where the Last Supper was held or whatever. Here I am. What does that tell you about me? I'm going to see where Dracula was, So we're all kind of sitting there and just having this experience. Nobody's saying anything. And we're between the castle walls. So it's not that wide. It's probably 60 feet wide. I don't know, 100 feet long, maybe. Half the walls are busted down, and the roof and all the other bricks and everything are kind of now filling the floor. And it's kind of a hill and dirt, because, it's old. So this area is all filled in with dirt. And as we're sitting there, there's not a cloud in the sky, beautiful blue skies. A little breeze comes up, and it's nice, and it gets a little stronger. I was like, okay, this is a nice breeze, and it gets really strong. and a dust devil comes right out of the floor there and gets bigger and bigger. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, Vlad the Impaler knows that we're here to, to investigate him. There he is. About that time, our lead investigator stands up, puts his arms out, walks into the dust devil and starts screaming, and I shall smite thee with thy vengeance and thy kingdom. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop it. You're completely ruining me. That's like Vlad. He goes, nah, it's just a dust devil. Don't worry about it. You suck, man. You don't. He completely took this experience away from us, just ripped it out like a friggin' cheap tablecloth.
Oh, that's funny.
But that's talking about making the best of your time and knowing when to take advantage of something. That was beautiful. Because you think about it, if that would have been 500 years ago and he did that, everybody would have thought he was a wizard. So,
that's true. True.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to ask Greg is, I know that you mentioned earlier that you wrote the zombie book and it kind of got you started. What other books? I know you've written several other books. What other books have you written?
So when I was a mental health detective or a mental health officer for a few years, and that's an investigator that goes out and when somebody's acting very bizarrely, and they get the cops called on them, the cops will typically just make sure nothing happens and call a mental health investigator over. And so you go over and you talk to the person and talk about their experience or whatever. And so I did a lot of that. And in doing that, to get certified that way, you have to be a certified mental health officer. Then you go through suicide mediation training. You go through hostage negotiation training and that sort of thing. So you work as a part of a critical incident team that handles, hostage situations, suicide situation, barricaded, and emotionally disturbed people. And so I did a lot of that. And after I did that, it was pretty disturbing. The calls that you get out on constantly is pretty disturbing. So I wrote a fictional book based on a lot of the experiences that I had. So I changed the locations, I changed the people's names, but the situation and the thing that happened is real. And so I wrote that book called The Disorient Express, and it sold really well. I got it. Another publishing house got a hold of it, and they wanted me to update it because it's like 20 years old now. So we actually went through an edit revision and changed everything to modern.
Okay.
So now my characters in the book would have cell phones and that sort of thing. So we kind of updated it a little bit, but it's all still the same thing. So that's called The Disorient Express. And then I wrote a book that was supposed to be the second volume of The Disorient Express called The Carrion. And it's not like carry-on bags it's carrying like dead things on the side of the road, the stuff that buzzards eat, carrion, dead, rotten stuff. Anyway, it's called The Carrion. And I liked the title. It didn't sell as well as The Disorient Express did, but I think it's a better book. I had fun writing that book because I used experiences when I lived out in the country of the people that I lived around and the mental health issues that went around there. But when I published the book, they wanted to make it a kind of a sci-fi book and make these experiences that these people were having, kind of real experiences. But if you know what's going on, you can make sense. As you're reading, you can go, yeah, that's not what that is. And so I really like that book. That's one of my favorite books. It was fun. It's fun to read, and it's got some really good stories. I've had people that will not make eye contact with me after reading my book.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. We can't just skip that. What's that about?
Well, it's because it's really disturbing stuff I write about. It's not, there's happiness in it somewhere, but there's really disturbing, twisted up stuff in there. It's not real sexual in nature. There's a little bit of that suggestion, but that's what happens. What happens when you get abducted by aliens? Every time you get anally probed, right? I mean, that's kind of the standard go-to, apparently, where the aliens can really figure stuff out is there. So there's those sorts of things that people say had happened or did to themselves or whatever, and then there's situations where, just the most bizarre thing. You read the carrion and you will never eat another gumball out of a gumball machine. I promise you.
Real?
Because yeah. Well, you might. Wipe at least wipe it off when you get it. So yeah. So I have people that haven't heard my disqualification of, hey, I didn't make this up. I'm just repeating what I saw, what I heard, what I interviewed, what I investigated, and turned it into a story.
I would be really. What is some of the craziest, weirdest things you've seen on the job? Your job alone just. Even from the diving to the. You've had to have come across some pretty weird, strange things.
You really want to ask me that?
Yeah. Because
I have an answer, sir. I have an answer for you. Do you really want to know that?
No, I'd really like to know. I'm always curious about that. I've talked to prison guards, police officers, firemen, and I have heard some really, some just depressing, sad, good, neat, interesting stories. And I would love to know.
Well, you said the most bizarre. So, all of us would probably think of different stories on different levels of bizarreness. But the one that kind of stuck with me, and there's a lot of them, but the one that kind of stuck with me is actually going to be in a book that I haven't finished yet. So I will be ruining this part of it, but it is certainly the pinnacle.
Okay.
Had an escapee from state hospital, and I was tasked to track him down. And so during my shift that day, I went to the state hospital and did my investigation there, and then contacted friends and family, which they did not want to know that he was out. They were very concerned because he was not the most stable individual. And so I went downtown to his former place of business where he worked. And when I got there, the guys I talked to said he left here literally 5 minutes ago. So I went back and out the back door, went down the alley, and I'm looking for him and couldn't find him. And the end of my shift came, and I went home. Well, the next day when I came on shift, I had other calls that I had to respond to. But between these other calls, I was trying to track this guy down. Mm-hmm. And I finally made contact with his mom, and I went over there, and she let me in the house. Did you ever see the movie Pet Detective?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, when he goes over to Finkel's house to talk to Finkel's mom, and she had all the cookies with the laces out. It was like that. Okay, so I go to talk to Finkel's mom, and she goes, I haven't seen him. He hasn't been here. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay. Do you mind if I check the house? Well, he hasn't been here. There's no reason for you to check the house. I'm like, well, that's part of what I do because people often are not truthful with me. So I ask them cooperation so I can, check off the box that the person's not there. So can I look in the house? And she finally agreed. And so I look in the house and go in. And in his bedroom, he has from almost floor to ceiling little tiny boxes, little long rectangular boxes. Now turn the light on, and I'm looking at them, and they are Barbie dolls. And he has got hundreds, if not thousands, of Barbie dolls in his room. And I'm just kind of like, okay, and his mom's like, yeah, he collects Barbie dolls. That's his thing. You know, he likes Barbie dolls. And I look over at his bedside table, and there's, 8 or 10 boxes there that are open, and the Barbie doll body is in there, but there's no head.
Oh, jinkies.
Oh.
And so I'm just like, yeah, Finkel's mom, I got to get out of here. So I'm kind of looking around, like, all right, well, thanks. And I look around the rest of the house, can't find him. He's not in there, so I'll leave. My shift goes along. I go back by his place of work, and guess what? He's there. So I snatch him up and put him in the back seat of my car. And I'm driving along. It's a mental health car, so it's unmarked, and there's no cage or anything in there. There's like a spring-loaded plexiglass window, right? So I have that lowered, and he's in the back, and he's making these very weird, grimacing facial expressions, right? And every once in a while, he would go, and, I'm like, hey, are you okay? And he wouldn't answer me. He wouldn't talk
God,
to me.
I think I just caught on where you're going with this.
Yeah,
Please tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Please tell me I'm wrong.
You're most likely correct.
Okay, keep going.
So I'm thinking, oh, what the hell? I got to go get this guy. If he's acting like this, I got to go get him medically cleared first. It's part of the process to get him back in the state hospital. So I take him to the local county hospital and take him in the emergency room and put him in there. And they have a little, special place for him, put him in there, lock him up. And I go to the office where the psychiatrist or psychologist houses, and I'm in there talking to them, and they're medically clearing this guy. And a nurse comes in and knocks on the door and comes into the psychologist's office like, Greg, can I talk to you out here? And I'm like, yeah. So I get up, I walk out, she goes, come here. So I follow her back into the x-ray room, and she shows me the x-rays of his colon. Yep.
Right.
Guess where the 17 Barbie doll heads were?
Jinkies.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, man. I don't make this stuff up. I
really regret asking now. I really regret asking.
You go. You want to know? That's the top of my. I mean, there's some terrible stuff that people have done that's just brutally violent. But you asked for the weirdest.
Oh, yeah, I did. And that's where I want to go next. What's the most evil you've seen?
Okay, the most evil I've seen is there was a guy here in Austin that was a serial rapist. Oh. And I ended up dealing with him many times. And, sitting and interviewing him many times. And I've never sat across from somebody. It was Ted Bundy-ish, smart guy, but looked right through you. And, while he's sitting there trying to talk his way out of 17 sexual assault charges. He's also bringing up sexual things that he's doing in jail.
Yeah.
He can't hold it together long enough to
other inmates or
cooperative kind of behavior. He wasn't. Yeah. So. While, he was never charged with a murder, I don't know whether he ever committed a murder or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. And So while I have, I have put people away for life for murder, they weren't evil people. They were stupid people.
Yeah, right.
They were
bad mistakes,
they were
drugs.
They were people that were doing normal stuff and made really bad decisions.
Right.
Mm.
And I could sit there and go, yeah, I could see myself working with this person, or breaking bread with them and hanging out. But what in the world were you thinking?
I want to share a couple. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, that's all right.
I was going to say I wanted to share a couple things talking about evil. I'm going to guess around 20. And I remember when they caught, was it the BTK? Is that right? BTK? Was it brutalize and torture, kill, or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'll never forget 48 hours, 60 minutes. One of those was doing like a documentary on it, and I'm 6'3", 330 pounds, and I'm not a scared guy. And I will never forget in the interview when he was just calm as could be, just answering questions. It looked like to me, a nice dad. Could this guy really do this? And when they said how they caught him, his eyes changed and he said, "You lied to me." And you could just, oh my God, to this day, I cannot forget seeing that. And like, he didn't look evil to me or anything, but in that moment, it was kind of life altering for me. Like, wow, there's some really, really evil people out there. Really messed up. Do you believe that people can be possessed? That's a question Mark Hoover has, and that's where I was wanting to go too.
So in my line of work, because I still do this, if I say that, I think people could be possessed. I could get discredited on the stand for sure. Okay. But to answer your question, I have seen what you're talking about, the change in someone's facial expressions and in their eyes, and then, the dilation of their eyes.
I can't imagine being in the same room with that. What's that like? When you see that, like, that has to be just, I can imagine you still see it in your head perfectly.
There was one particular guy I was interviewing, and it wasn't over a particularly violent crime, but it was violent nevertheless. And his story was just ridiculous. It was like talking to a 7-year-old who had just, stolen the only piece of candy that was sitting on the counter. It's not me. It's not, it's just terrible. And we're talking, and, I let him tell his story, and then I summarize his story, and I do it very kindly. I was like, I just really don't understand this part, and I get this. I can understand how someone 200 years ago would witness somebody's change like that and say he was possessed, because he looked like a different person completely. And a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a doctor will tell you that's because of the stress reaction, the adrenaline dump, that sort of stuff, and his facial expression, his muscles do different things under stress. So his expression is going to change. And you can talk, be an adult and talk your way out of, this person is just possessed. But I've been there plenty of times when somebody who has epilepsy has had a full-blown, full grand mal seizure. And why wouldn't you think that they're possessed? I mean, there's no reason why you wouldn't go, oh, yeah, no, he's just having a seizure. No, he is being taken over by some other force. So to answer your question, It depends on whether you're faith-based or whether you're just going to go off a, tried and true scientific method of, analysis on what could be causing this. And the question on that is really, I hate to change the subject a little bit, but when you see that change, right, in that person. When I was 16 years old, I was a cook at Pizza Hut. And actually, I was an assistant manager. Yeah, don't be jealous. Don't be a hater. I know, 16, assistant manager. But I aspired to do great things. And I was standing between the prep table and the ovens of our Pizza Hut. And I was looking out at the dining area. And the kid, you have the standard Pizza Hut. You got the walkway through. You got your cash register there on the right-hand side. And a waitress that was about 22, 23 years old, cute girl, that I had was instrumental in hiring because she was cute, not because she was a good waitress. But I didn't know any better. I was 16. What do I know? Anyway, she walks straight up to me, and she's got this look of utter terror on her face. Now, this is like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's like dinner shift, right? I mean, there's a bunch of people in there. That's when people actually went to Pizza Hut to eat pizza. Nowadays, they just order it. There's like one person sitting in Pizza Hut whenever you go in there. But anyway, back then they had a lot of people. And she walks up to me, utter terror on her face, reaches out and takes a hold of my hands and starts squeezing them, and then says this, and this is pre-poltergeist. She says, "They're here," like that. And she just goes into like this catatonic state and completely locks up as rigid as a board. And she's just looking at me and shaking, just staring at me with this grimacing look on her, baring her teeth, and her eyes are all crazy. And I'm trying to get her to let go of my hands. And I look down, and she's urinating all over herself. And there's a puddle of urine coming out. Yeah. And then there's people at the cash register trying to change, and they're just frozen staring at this, whatever the hell's happening. And I'm going, come on to the back, come to the back. I'm trying to get her to walk, but she is absolutely stiff. And I'm not talking she's not moving. I'm talking she's stiff like a piece of metal, like a wooden stump, stiff. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to move her, and she won't move. And so I just kind of stood there and tried to talk to her. Are you okay? Come to the back. And after what seemed like 3 hours, it was probably, a minute and a half maybe, she starts relaxing a little bit. And then she's kind of starting to make eye contact with me again. And she starts breathing normally. And I'm like, come on, let's go to the back. So I walk her to the back, and I sit her in the little break chair in the back. And she lights up a cigarette. Back then we could smoke inside buildings. And I go and I get, some towels, and I go up and I try to clean the floor. And everybody's kind of watching. I'm just like, yeah, I'll go back to work. Just go back to work, And I kind of clean up. And I go back there, and somebody else has to start doing the pizza stuff. And I go back and I sit down with her, and in the next 30 minutes, she explains to me what happens. And aliens come and abduct her, and it happens on a regular basis. She could be anywhere, and time completely freezes. They take her out of her body. They take her to the spaceship, and they do horrific torture on her. Take her apart, take her insides out, take her brain out, do all this stuff, right? And then they put her back into her body, and there she is. And yeah, and so she says that's what happened when she was gone. And I'm like, well, you were just standing there, when you say you were gone, you were actually standing there. She's like, all right. Well, this happened a couple more times, and our general manager said, hey, Pizza Hut's going to pay for her to go to the doctor. She needs to get, an MRI or whatever back then. And so they paid for her MRI. And she had a big lesion a big scar on her brain.
Mm.
Now, and when they saw that, they diagnosed her with epilepsy. Now, I go back to what you asked me as far as, have I seen somebody transition and could it possibly look like they're possessed?
Right.
And my answer is yes. Yes, absolutely, I've seen that. And then I look for the other reasons that could be leading up to that. So here this girl has these seizures, and she looks completely different when she's having them than when she's not. And then we take her to the hospital, and they find out there's a lesion on her brain, a scar. I shouldn't say lesion, it's a scar on her brain. And the doctors will say that scar causes her epilepsy, and that's what's happening.
Mm.
But you could also say the abduction and the torture that she suffers from the aliens, could that have caused the scar to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, if there's no other. Now, us sitting here talking across radio waves, it's just an idea. Most people that are listening to us right now would probably go, no, it's probably just, you know, epilepsy, and that explains her out-of-body experiences and this torture that she goes through. That's the way her brain rationalizes it. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's something else, because I can't disprove the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you fall into that conspiracy theory thing where you just kind of go in circles and what if? What if?
Right.
Because bottom line, when I get at the end of the day, bottom line, I sit there and I reflect and I stare at the stars, and I think, wouldn't this be a complete travesty if all it was Big Bang, particles of dust coagulated to a big planet, it grows moss, and then it grows other life forms accidentally, and that life form grows an eyeball and decides to look around and figure out how to work with its environment, and then pretty soon is driving a Chevy Tahoe talking on their cell phone to some people about, you know, metal detecting. That is crazy.
Right.
And so
Right.
I sit at the end of the day going, I hope it's something else, man. I really hope it's something else, because for me to experience what I've experienced and to die and that's it, that's freaking sad to me, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is just sad. So I'm going to hang on to my spirituality, I guess, and hope for the best.
Mm.
So,
I don't want to dive into religion here, but you know, I think if you believe in paranormal or you've witnessed things, it's hard not to believe in something else.
Sure, I mean, I was raised Catholic. I'm a recovering Catholic. So and on my tombstone it'll say Catholic. You know, I mean, that's the way I was raised. And if anything's paranormal, Catholic is paranormal. I mean, the mystery of the Eucharist. I mean, when people say I'm Catholic, and you know, so do you believe that in transubstantiation? Do you believe that when the priest prays over the bread and prays over the wine, that it actually turns into the body and blood of Jesus Christ? Because if you don't believe that, then you're not Catholic. And they go, no, it's just symbolic. No. If you're Catholic, you have to believe that, because it is the whole damn thing is founded on that premise. It has to be. And if you want to call yourself Catholic Light and go do something else, you want to be a Lutheran or you want to be something else, that's fine. But if you're a Catholic, you have to believe in transubstantiation of one material into another material through mystical means or through religious, powerful God means. And, you know, you just can't pick and choose what you're going to believe in and what you're not. If you're in a, like you said, a religion, and you're going to stick to that religion. But It's all paranormal. Religion is not physical. It's metaphysical. It's other than physical. It's spiritual. It's something else.
I gotta say, here's my thing about Catholicism. I went to a Catholic funeral once, and all I'm saying, I wish somebody would have warned me. I would have worn sweatpants and a headband, because that's a workout.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I'd never been, so I'm getting up,
too.
I'm getting down, I'm getting up, I'm like, what is this? Why do you got to go to a funeral and have a workout? This is lot. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was just
get your heart rate at about 140, 150. You get that really good heart rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just I wanted to break the seriousness up a little bit, but yeah. So, what other experience? I mean, is there anything else you want to share? You want to talk about, or
not really?
Not really. Like, I'm done. You people are boring. It's been 2 hours and you're boring.
Oh, it has been 2 hours, hasn't it? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking a long time. Yeah, I think we hit my experience on the metal detecting side of it. I feel like it's a really good tool, not only for just hunting as a hobbyist. It's a great tool for law enforcement, and it's a great tool for paranormal to try to put some evidence together, and support what you're investigating. So
I have said, well, I don't know, maybe to a couple people, but I have thought in my head many times, I'll watch the Ghost Hunters. I really don't watch them anymore. It's kind of the same old thing, like every single time. But I watched that a few times and stuff, and I've always thought, man, if they would just combine metal detecting with that, all those great historic places they visit, I think that would be a show. I want to ask you, and I can't even remember the name. The guy, there was a paranormal show on for, I think it just went a couple years, where him, his son, daughter, and they had a couple other investigators went out, and in most cases they thought something haunted the place rather than the house was haunted or the place. Did you ever see that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
He's actually a friend of mine. I think if you're talking about the right one. The Haunted Collector.
I loved that show. I watched an episode where him and his daughter are sitting in chairs next to him, and between them there's a light, and they're talking, and that light bulb exploded, and it's like, oh, geesh, man, that was pretty violent, and it kind of spooked, even me watching on TV. Right. And he's telling his daughter, calm down. Well, let's call the electric company, see if they're... And I just thought that he went at the investigations really level-headed.
Does he have a white beard?
Yes.
Did he have a white beard? Yeah, yes. That's John Zaffis.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I have... it's a funny story, but anyway, I have his suitcase, and so he brought a bunch of merchandise to one of the conventions, right? Like T-shirts and stuff like that to sell, and he brought it in an old suitcase of his, and he left it there. And just because he was done with the suitcase, it was an old suitcase, and he didn't need it anymore, so he's going to go home and just leave it. So he trashed it. Well, the people that were cleaning up at a hotel saw the suitcase. It freaked them out. This is at a Indian casino. It freaked them out, and they refused to touch it. So one of the other guys that ran the event called me, and I usually stay a couple of days later after the events because I usually go do some sort of investigation while I'm there. Mm-hmm. And he said, can you go up and check and see what this thing is? And I said, sure. So I go and I find this suitcase and I open it up, and it's got it's got some receipts and stuff of his. So I decided to steal John's suitcase, and I'm gonna set it up, and I think I'm gonna like charge people to take selfies with it for John Zappas' haunted suitcase. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
think that's one way I can make some extra money at some of these conferences.
That is too funny.
Yeah, he is a really good guy, and you're absolutely correct. And all the good paranormal investigators always eliminate the normal before they go and say it's paranormal.
Right.
And
right.
you got these, you got some out there that are just, are scared of their own shadow and automatically think everything's a demon or everything's a ghost or whatever. And it makes for good TV for a little bit, because
Right.
it's funny how goofy it can be. And I've scared myself plenty of times that,
oh yeah, I'm sure.
I find out, wow, that doesn't have anything to do with anything.
And then you got to calm down and you got to think about it, and you're like, I'm fine. Yeah, this is this, and that's yeah. I agree. Yeah. That's funny. That was too.
So
funny.
yeah, John's a great guy.
That's cool. Yeah, I really that's been by far my favorite show that I watched. Paranormal. Even just kind of regular. I really liked that when it was on. I thought he went at it in a very just a very logical and calm way. I liked him.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So he had Ed and Lorraine Warren have you seen the movie The Conjuring?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the husband and wife team.
Oh yeah.
That was Ed and Lorraine Warren. Well, that's John Zaffis' uncle and aunt.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he has his own, haunted museum kind of thing, but he will be inheriting everything from Lorraine when she passes.
Wow.
So he will have that whole basement and the Annabelle doll and the whole deal. And it's yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you believe in I'll tell you, at probably 15 years old, I read the book Amityville Horror, and I'll tell you what, that kind of scarred me a little bit. Do you believe that happened? I mean, I know we're kind of off the subject some, but
no. So Christopher Lutz is the youngest boy of the Amityville Horror. And his name is actually Christopher Quarantino, and he is a friend of mine also. I've done multiple events with him, and we talk pretty regularly. And he is a really good guy. Mm-hmm. He is a super nice guy. And he was seriously traumatized because of all that, what happened in that house. Mm-hmm. And to this day, he won't talk about it in public. He won't tell his side of the story in public, but he will often go to these events, and a guy named Dave Schrader and him work together, and Dave will just kind of interview him and let him talk. But he'll only get so far, and then he won't talk about it. And so something really, really crazy happened there. Whether it was a ghost thing, whether it was a demon thing, whether it was something else, because Christopher has some other things in his life that, I apologize for being cryptic on this, but I'm trying to maintain his privacy. There's other things that line up. If you were going to do a mathematical formula to equal, possession, this mathematical formula would add up to that. Even when he was born, there were odd things that happened in his life that you're just like, what, how? That's, I mean, you literally say that's crazy. It's crazy that would be so coincidental to what ended up happening there at Amityville and all that. So I don't know, I've never been to the house. I've never investigated. It's a private residence still today. It was actually just bought again about 5 years ago. It was sold and bought. But, whether it was that, whether it had something to do with other types of spiritualist, religious beliefs, or whether it was just straight up drug hallucinations, I don't know.
Right.
But whatever it was really bad.
Do you think? Do you think people can? How do I? I could give you a scenario that I don't want to do, but I'm trying to think. How can I? Do you think people can manifest stuff through anger? Loss, I guess through extreme trauma. Do you think that people are capable of manifesting stuff that even others can witness?
So there's actually a lot of study on that now. I don't know if you've heard of the Mandela effect. You ever heard of that?
I've heard of that. I don't know what it is. I'll be honest.
Well, there's certain things that everybody kind of has in the back of their mind that they know is one way, like chupacabras. They've always been with them. I remember chupacabras when I was in junior high school. Well, I was in junior high school in 1976, and there were no chupacabras. Chupacabra, the word never came up until the mid-1990s. It did not exist prior to that. You cannot find anything that exists prior to that on that. And so it's this thing that people, once they start believing something, they can actually formulate memories in their mind about these particular things. And then there's the theory of if someone believes so strongly, I mean, religion will tell you this also. Somebody believes in something so strongly, or a group of people get together and think about something and concentrate on something so strongly, they can make it happen, or they can make, something appear, that sort of thing. And there's actually a lot of study going into, whether we create our own reality or not. So, I mean, you want to get your head wrapped around some crazy thoughts, go on to TED Talks and look up the topic of consciousness. You want to get confused, go there and listen to these geniuses, true geniuses, talk about what consciousness is and isn't.
Okay.
Because it's really hard to explain. It gets really, really confusing. So to answer your question, I don't know, but I know there's a lot of people working on that concept now. Because I mean, 500 years ago, for me to be able to communicate with you, right now I'm standing here just talking into the air, and you are wherever you are, and we're communicating. It's magic.
Right.
This is, just everything. People talk about religions and everything. Well, the difference between religion and mythology is followers. That's all. That's totally different. You got myth over here and you got religion over here. Myth, everybody's going, yeah, that's a lie. Religion over here, they're going, yeah, this is what I believe. I have no physical evidence to support it, but I'm going to believe this set of rules. And so, is it something that we actually do? Do we create our realities and our, and how we react to all that?
Well, I mean, do you think you can?
You have a good question.
Do you think you can project that? I mean, if you're interested, I don't know if you'd be interested. I would really like to talk to you off air about some things. More or less, just get your opinion on them. It was a pretty amazing thing in my book, and I would be really curious what your thoughts on it stuff, because there is, like I told you, I'm very open. I'm open-minded. If something goes bump in the night, I don't, oh, that's a ghost. But there, when you come to things that you, even things that I can't explain, doesn't mean somebody else couldn't, or doesn't make it paranormal. But there is one thing that I would be really interested your take on it sometime. So
yeah, any time except for tonight.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. Greg, I've really enjoyed this, and it has been great talking to you. I am good. I mean, we could keep going. I'm guessing 2 hours and 10 minutes into this, we're probably all ready to call it a night. I in no way am I pushing you off, but
oh no, I'm good.
And I think
go
ahead. I'm sorry.
If y'all want to talk again sometime, I'm good with it. You want to give me a call? You got my phone number, so.
Okay. Well, I was going to say exactly that. We can always have you on again. I'd love to, maybe we can get updates on what's going on with you and what you've been up to and doing. And it sounds like you got some really great projects and stuff going.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to have Greg back on, because I just thought of another question I wanted to ask him, but it would take too long to go into it because it reminded me of a movie. But just a few quick things.
Come on, Gypsy, you're killing us. Don't leave us like that.
Gotta leave you hanging. Sorry. Anyway, what I did want to say real quick, though, is Greg and I, Greg has been doing some historical research along the river that flows right up the road from where we live, and just several blocks actually from where he lives. And he's been doing some research, and that river had a different name back in the 1700s, 1800s, and he's found some interesting pieces of history of, the Spanish explorers and some old Spanish things that were along the river when they were exploring this area, and right before, all the settlers started coming in here. And him and I and a guy that he had met that grew up in the town where Greg is from, we went on a little excursion adventure one day down the river up from where Greg grew up at, and looked at some historical markers and went up in some kayaks. And once we find out some more information on that, Greg can tell you the full history thing, but that'll be for another show.
Okay.
It'll be really interesting, but we'll give you an update on if we discover anything interesting with our metal detectors next time we go back.
I have some of that stuff on my website too, the paranormaldetective.com. And my latest book is Detecting Paranormal. That's the one that I'm doing best with, as far as that's what's getting me to all the conventions. And and it's And there's a link on that. You can get to that. And I think they have it in ebook also. So those that don't want to
order the book for sure.
Yeah. But it was great talking with y'all.
It was great having you on, and I'm looking forward to it again. When's a good time to give you a shout?
It's just hard. It's hit and miss. Just give me a call, and
that'll work. Thank you, Greg, for coming on. It's been absolutely a great time, and we're looking forward to having you on another time.
Cool. I look forward to it. See you guys later.
Good night.
Thanks, Greg. Night.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
There you have it. That was fun and interesting. We'll have him on again. What an interesting gentleman. And don't forget, authorgreglawson.com, or you can go to theparanormaldetective.com. That's his website. Check it out. It is awesome. And yeah, good night, all. Thanks for joining us.
The All Metal Mode podcast is sponsored by Digger's Den. If you are looking for a metal detector, get in touch with Mike or Brian. Together, they have years of experience with many different brands and models. They also truly enjoy what they do. You can contact them through Facebook at Digger's Den, visit the website at dddetectors.com, or give Mike a call. He makes it sound like it's so hard raising our boy, but trust me, he has time. 937-414-4578.